We came here to colonize and terraform this planet. I call it the Rock. Upon our arrival, our food supply was destroyed and eaten by some of the strange creatures that are native to this planet. When we found that there was less than 6 months of food and supplies left, we had to make a decision. The decision was that 639 members of our crew and party all volunteered to be put into suspended animation. That is until a rescue ship arrives, if it ever will. I am the Guardian, the 640th person. My job is to protect our massive freezing facility where the animation pods are stored. Those bodies are dependent on me to keep them safe until we can get them back home or until another solution is found. I was 27 when I took this assignment. Since our first successful trips to other planets, we knew that scattering our species throughout the universe would prolong our kind's survival, especially if our home planet met some unforeseen cataclysmic event. I have spent the last 30 years of mostly sleepless nights logging into my journals and keeping the animals that inhabit the dark recesses of our compound from ruining our life-sustaining systems. Each night, I check into a monitoring station. In case something should happen to me, a remote sensor will activate a designated pod. That person will continue my work. This is a dark, cold, brutal place. If you are hearing this story, it is from many light years away. This is the record from a desolate outpost, somewhere in a galaxy with no name. These are excerpts from my journals. I'm known as the Solitary Man. There have been many like myself in similar situations. Those that would make the ultimate sacrifice for the good of the many. I chose to keep my watch at night and to log into my journals. I sleep by day. That's because I have found that most of the creatures here are nocturnal. Night is when they are most active, and at night is when they can do the most damage. When I go through the compound, I can sense them, see them, and I can smell them. My awareness at night has become very sharp over a period of time. I have found that the most simple piece is a flashlight. It keeps the animals away from me. Their eyes do not welcome bright light. I am resigned that there is no way to keep them out of the compound at night. Outside of the fenced-in area is unforgiving terrain, forest, bare lands, and pockets of freshwater pools. The forest is home to an odd herd or type of carnivorous deer. They have saber-toothed fangs that jut from the corners of their mouths. I have actually watched them use them for tearing flesh and also for fighting. The other odd thing that I found about them is their eyes glow red at night. I have been most careful not to become one of their meals, though I have harvested many of them over the years to supplement my food supply. There's another creature in abundance here, a small mammal of sorts. Looks like a cross between a monkey and a squirrel. I have to check the inside of the compound for this critter. I make sure that they have not chewed any vital wires or set off any alarms inside their freezing compound. This animal makes up a large supply of my daily food. I also have dehydrated fruits and vegetables. All the animals here are high in protein and most of them taste just like chicken. The compound is set up over 16.39 acres of land. The buildings are made to withstand hurricane-force winds and solar windstorms, the latter of which is common to a lot of undeveloped planets. The compound's roofs are covered with solar panels. They are so sensitive that they can convert the smallest amount of moonlight into energy that can be stored. The buildings can also be moved easily if we have to travel to better terrain. 5 years have gone by, still no sign of a rescue ship. I have wondered if a rescue beacon was ever found by anyone from our other colonies or our home planet. A rescue ship would have taken only 2 years, barring any political problems. I spent a lot of time studying this planet's ecosystem. Outside of the fenced-in area is a freshwater lake. I have noticed over the years that lightning strikes hit the water quite often. That's more than would be normal for some Class F planets. Days after these series of strikes, over the summer, there appears a type of protoplasm growing in the water. Some type of living substance that resembles a jellyfish or some type of colonizing type of creature. They are able to move about, sometimes leaving the water on hair-like feet. Looks like cilia. I've observed them as little sheets of fleshy material in various sizes. Later in my studies, I found that these creatures can duplicate the cells of other animals that come in contact with them. These appear to be the source of all natural life here. I realized that when I took different animals for food, none of them had reproductive organs. This, in a way, proves a theory by one of our planet's leading biologists. The theory is that all living things in the universe are made of the same compounds or DNA. It is arranged differently for every species. Log date 31/17. Most of my patrols through the compound are not out of the ordinary. This one night, as I walked through, I heard some strange noises. These sounds raised my senses to be on the point. I am the only one here. I walked through the mazes of metal grids, all the while watching for movement of any kind, staying in the shadows of the dim light. The noise was as if someone were pounding or slamming metal upon metal. The noise literally echoed through the whole buildings. I will be the first to admit, a bit of fear welled in my guts, fear that comes with each unusual situation. Yet, my duty and training makes me overcome that. I think of what is at stake. Fear turns into adrenaline. I am the hunter. Stealth and savvy are my allies. I had to make sure our freezing compound was going to remain safe. I moved carefully, noting the direction of each sound. A sound came from directly to my right and above. When I looked up, the animal that looks like a cross between a monkey and a squirrel was slamming the hot air vents on the roof. They are capable of mischief, I found. They have small, hand-like appendages. A few of them would pay a price for this on my dinner table. I did mention that they taste just like chicken. Our races are in billions of solar systems throughout the masses of universes. Some planets have been established for so long, it is often forgotten our place of origin. All colonies adapt to conform and live within the limitations of the planets themselves. Every colony that we establish is not successful. If a colony can't survive one turn of the planet's journey around its sun, that colony will have a 1/billionth of a chance to survive. On some planets, a turn of the sun can be lethal, especially if a planet has an undisclosed elliptical orbit, an orbit that will swing the planet too close to its sun, scorching everything on its surface. We have even learned to survive on these planets. Those colonists became subterraneans. Some of those establishments are millions of years old. We set up each colony with certain elements for each one to survive. The buildings are sectioned into living quarters, shelters for transport and construction vehicles, supplies, greenhouses, a hydroponics facility, and a power station for solar energy storage. A special freezing compound is very important to each colony. That space is maintained to the highest degree. It holds the life pods that can be used in such emergencies that we faced soon after coming here. My nightly routine is to prepare a light meal. I've had success with the garden I planted. Over the 30 years that I have been here, I have been lucky to see the garden spread beyond the compound. The animals that steal the fresh fruit and vegetables have spread seeds. One day, I flew a hovering aircraft 100 miles. When I sat down to recharge, I found my garden was spread that far, and green went from there to the limit of my vision. The plants have no natural enemies here. When I am done with my meal, I make the first of my 3 nightly visits through the compound, making sure there are no major problems. I spend most of my time checking the meters and hoses and valves. It seems that some of the animals here developed a taste for chewing rubber and plastic. Then over a period of time, most of them left the compound for the abundant fruit and vegetables that were growing. The animals that remain inside the compound often find their way into my stew pot. Animals develop a kind of respect for you when they find out that you'll eat them. When I am done with my rounds, I returned to the base and logged into my journals. Log date 31/27.4. Today, while I was tracking deer, I made a rare observation of them. I came upon a small herd that were at the edge of the lake. I thought they were there drinking water. However, as I looked closer, I watched as they were eating the protein that had come out of the water. I had not given much thought as to how the deer grew so thick and strong. As I listened closer, the deer emitted a high-pitched continuous sound. When that happened, more protein came from the water, and the deer ate their fill of them and moved on. I got the idea I would bring a sliver of protoplasm back to the compound for an experiment. Since the organism can replicate things that it comes into contact with, I decided to place a sliver of it in a container with a can of Spam. When I went back to the kitchen later that day, there were 2 cans of Spam. The experiment was a success. Only if we had made this discovery when we arrived, this would have been our food supply, like manna from heaven. All along, everything we needed was here to survive: meat and vegetables. I ate all of the Spam, and it was good. I think I found a way to be able to resurrect our colony and have a way for them to survive. At least this is an option that I can think about. I don't know what this discovery would do to the ecosystem of the planet. We are not natives here, so should it matter if we are to survive? Log date 31/27/77. Last night we had another heavy rainstorm. I found that there are a few leaks in the compound. I walked through a few puddles of water. I noticed that there were small bits of protoplasm in them. It's making me believe that the protoplasm may be a spore that is fertilized by the lightning. I also noticed that any protoplasm that formed inside of the freezing unit died into a white residue. It seems that they cannot survive the cold. Tonight, I made the rounds inside and outside of the compound. A strange night, I must add. There was rain and snow going on at the same time. There, in the snow, I spotted some tracks. I had never seen this track before. What animal made these? I questioned myself, do I want to see what made these tracks? It had come very close to the compound. It seemed to have an interest in what was inside the compound. Maybe the light had attracted it. This night as I walked through the compound, I spotted quite a few shadows. Shadows are the remains that the protoplasm leaves behind when it turns into another animal. I don't know what they became, a squirrel or the cross between the squirrel and the monkey. It became whatever it took DNA from. I hope they don't get into the animation pods and replicate one of our party. I don't know what that would cause. At this time, I don't know if it would take on the memory of one of us or just be an animal in one of our bodies. Log date 3180.10. A few days have gone by since the last rain. I'm starting my nightly routine. As I am making my rounds through the facility tonight, I am deep within the metal and mesh that make up the inside of the compound. I stopped for a moment. I saw something about 150 yards in the distance. It was strange, out of place, and yet even familiar. I am seeing a replica of myself. I looked away for a moment. As this time that I've been awake here taken my mind, I asked myself. When I looked back, it was still there. Asking myself, how can this be? We studied each other, neither one making a move to encounter the other. When I did move toward it, it moved away. Did this creature know my thoughts? Did it know that I am capable of harm? Is this how we are perceived by other sentients that we encounter throughout the universe? Is this some test I wasn't told about? How do I protect myself against myself? I realized that I must encounter this creature. I chased it into the night. Later in the night, As I chased it through the compound, I realized that one of the creatures in the pond had touched my skin. It took my DNA. I am spending many nights chasing a replica of myself. These entries into my journal are a composite of those nights. Our race has colonized many worlds in the universe. Our objective is to only colonize those planets that do not have intelligent life. Each planet, known as a Class F planet, come with its own unique set of problems and sometimes subspecies. All of my skills and training never prepared me for nights like these. Tonight, as I walk through the compound, I've seen more traces of shadows. Seems like some of them have even started to replicate small creatures like spiders. However, they seem to be able to have the ability to even capture things as large as birds. Perhaps this is a way that they can eat food as other creatures to sustain themselves. My mind wanders as I go through the compound each night. I often think about my wife and 2 sons that are in the animation pods. I must admit that after learning that I can produce replicas, I thought about cloning one of my wife. That's until I found out in further research, all the animals here have no reproductive organs. This task has become harder as the years pass. When the pods are open, my kids will still be kids. My wife will be 26 years old. They will awaken to find their father and her husband as a man of 57 or 60, maybe older, unless I hope to see them again, to hold my sons and feel my wife against me. I hope to spend whatever time I have remaining with them. I've often asked myself, was this sacrifice worth it? Once again, I stop and remember. Duty and selfishness has no place when it comes to survival. I have to do something about this creature before it does something to jeopardize our pods. They can't survive the cold. If I can lure it into the freezer compartment, it will die. That's unless it adapted from my DNA to adjust to lower temperatures. I spent a few hours outside the compound fence studying the deer. I noticed that while they are near the lake, they make a high-pitched sound. When that happens, the protoplasm comes onto the land where the deer eat them until they are full. That gave me another idea. If I can produce the high-pitched frequency sound that the deer makes, maybe that sound will lure the replica outside of the compound, and I'm sure the deer will finish it off. I have now come to terms. I have to make a decision. There's enough vegetation here and a way to produce protein to sustain our colony. I will deactivate and open the pods. They will be open 6 at a time, and each 6 will activate another 6 until they are all acclimated to this world. I have no doubt that we can live on this world. I have created a device that duplicates the sound that the saber-toothed deer make when they are hungry. I rigged it near one of the doors of the compound. I placed another on a small robotic cart that I could control. I lured the replica out. I watched the replica as it left the compound. I used the mobile unit device to lure it outside the gates. The deer did as I suspected. They ate him. Problem solved. Log date 4500. Many years have gone by since I opened the pods. Our colony is spreading and living all over the planet. Food is plentiful. My sons have taken wives, and they have taken care of my wife and myself. They are the builders of many of the wonderful cities here that we have on this planet. I began to miss the old compound. I decided to take a trip back there. It was, of course, in great ruin. It had served its purpose. I was the only one that had many memories of the old place. I decided to stay for the night since the storm was coming up. Right before dark, I spotted something on an outcrop. When I went to it, I found it was a message cylinder from our home planet. I opened it and read a message dated almost 75 years ago. In essence, the message read that our home planet had been destroyed by an asteroid. That explains no rescue ship. That's the natural order of the universe. Stars and planets come and go. It takes a special kind of being to survive at all. We will survive.